Welcome to Trash Talk MMA, the #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe by MMA aficionado, Antoine Peltier.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Peltier. Since this is the first episode of the show, I'd just like to give a little bit of background about myself, let you guys know where I'm coming from, and then go into a little bit of detail about some of the cool and exciting things we're going to be talking about over the next few months as we delve deep into the world of mixed martial arts. So as far as my professional background is concerned, I've been an audio director for video games for the last 15 years. I started out at EA Sports as a tester for their NHL projects, and then eventually evolved into an audio role where I specialized in designing and recording play-by-play commentary for sports games. So I spent a couple years on NHL, then I spent 6 years on NBA Live, where I became the primary commentary designer as well as the audio director. Now, as a sports fan, I've never been a huge basketball fan, but the great thing about working on that title was that I was able to work with a lot of world-renowned sports commentators like Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, all sorts of great guys. It was a really, really great learning experience. Spent a lot of time in the studio, spent a lot of time crafting these titles, trying to make these games sound as authentic to broadcast as possible. Now, seeing that mixed martial arts is my #1 passion, I became interested in seeing if it would be possible to apply my craft to an MMA game. Luckily, in 2005, video game publisher THQ acquired the license to make UFC video games. Since at the time, EA Sports wasn't interested in making a UFC video game, I decided to switch things up. So I wrote the team at THQ a letter stating who I was, what I did, that I specialize in doing sports audio for video games, and particularly play-by-play commentary. I'm a huge UFC fan, and I'd love to work on their game. If they'd like my services, give me a shout. So to make a long story short, they gave me a call, flew me down to LA. I interviewed real quick there, and 2 weeks later I had the job. So I packed up my belongings from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and moved down to Agoura Hills next to Los Angeles in the United States and began work as the audio director on what would become the trilogy of UFC Undisputed video games. Now, without going into too much detail about working on the game itself, as you can imagine for a UFC junkie like myself, it was a dream come true. You know, in particular because I was able to work with the staff at the UFC itself. I spent hundreds of hours in the recording studio with Joe Rogan, Mike Goldberg, Bruce Buffer, all the major referees, and even with Bas Rutten, Stephen Quadros, and Lenny Hart when we implemented Pride as a feature in UFC Undisputed 3. So as a fan, what's really cool is when you're able to develop a working and a professional relationship with people that you admire and follow on a daily basis. So that became my life for 5 years. Pretty much dedicated my heart and soul to everything that is UFC and attempted to make the best sounding games possible. Fortunately for me and the rest of the talented team at THQ and our developer Yuke's in Japan, the game sold really well and got great reviews, and pretty much became the reference in modern mixed martial arts games. And in what is a rather ironic turn of events, once THQ went bankrupt and lost the UFC license, EA Sports actually picked it back up, and the former studio that I used to work for is now the one making the latest UFC video game. So hats off to them for putting out a product recently. It's an extremely difficult and complex and challenging game to make, and I actually hope to cover a lot of your questions and some of the development of the game, and give you guys some insight into what it took to make the game, and I'll try to get a lot of people that were involved with it on the show. I hope that can be one of the unique twists of my podcast, is to cover the video game aspect of mixed martial arts in a way that probably few or any other podcasts are doing. So moving along, THQ eventually went bankrupt in January of 2013. So I did some work on a couple indie titles. One of them was a nice little survival horror game by the name of Outlast. Some of you may know that one. And completed that in September of 2013. And by that time, I was pretty much totally burnt out from the video game industry. It's an industry where there's a lot of overtime. I was very passionate about what I did there, put in a lot of work, dedicated my life to it for for the most part of 14, 15 years, and just got really, really burnt out. So in September of 2013, I decided to call it quits and take a break from it all. And I pretty much sold my home in LA, got rid of all my belongings, packed a bag, and decided to travel the world, just to take a step back from everything and reassess where I'm at professionally, where I'm at in my personal life, and turned into quite the adventure. I started off by going to the Dominican Republic, and while I was out there, started putting in some work in the gym, doing some kickboxing classes, and from there decided to take an angle on my trip of where I really wanted martial arts to become an important component of it. So I started researching online some cool places to go train, and I discovered Tiger Muay Thai in Phuket, Thailand. So in February of 2014, pretty much a year ago, jumped on a plane, went to Thailand, trained some Muay Thai for about a month out there, then did a little stint in Singapore, Malaysia, and then went back to Phuket and continued to fitness train for pretty much 10 straight weeks and get in the best shape of my life. So I had a really fun experience training Muay Thai, getting to know a lot of cool people out in Thailand, and getting to know a lot of people working in the gyms out there. And that's something that we'll be talking a lot about, because essentially what I'm going to be doing in a couple weeks is heading back out to Thailand, and that's really where I want to begin my official podcast here, where we start. Where I'm going to try to document most of the gyms out there. There's a lot of really cool gyms. You got Tiger Muay Thai, you got Phuket Top Team, you got AKA Thailand. There's all sorts of really top-notch places to go train out there that attract a lot of prominent UFC, Bellator, and ONE FC fighters. So I'm going to make that my base of operations for 3 months starting in February, and try to bring you guys a lot of cool interviews and documentaries from the scene out there. So we'll start by, kicking things off in Thailand and bringing you guys the pretty unique perspective of how things are going down there. What's really cool about Phuket as well is that it's an area that attracts a lot of tourists, a lot of people who are just interested in martial arts and want to get fit. And there's a pretty cool neighborhood out there that really caters to people who want to train with professional fighters or train to become professional fighters in a really fun, in a fun, enjoyable environment. There's a lot worse places on earth to go spend a few months of your life to get in shape and learn how to protect yourself, to do some self-defense, or to become a martial artist than Thailand. It's a really cool place. So we'll bring you we're going to be bringing you a whole bunch of insight into the world of video games and MMA, a lot of the Southeast Asian scene, and then beyond that, we'll evolve as the needs dictate. I really want this show to become one where there's a lot of listener involvement. I'm going to be getting, my Facebook page up and running, my Twitter account up and running, and I really want to field your questions. I want to talk about the things that you're interested in talking about. I check the MMA news all day, every day, and always have my own thoughts on these things, and I'll be blogging a lot about that. And I want to get you guys involved. So, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Facebook once those accounts are in place, and let me know what it is you guys want to see, what you want to hear. I really want to jump around the globe and provide some unique perspectives of MMA on a worldwide level, and cater to what you guys need. So if there's topics that you don't feel are being thoroughly discussed, if there's people that you want me to interview, if there's people that have worked on the UFC video games that you're interested in hearing about, the designers, the artists, everything, I can dig into that and bring you guys the news that you want to hear. I also love giving, my previews and my wrap-ups on all the major events, so you'll see me doing a lot of that. And just to keep things light, to keep things fun, but to keep things, to keep things intelligent and articulate. So I'm going to sign off on this first podcast. You guys know a little bit about me and what the objectives of my show are going to be about. And thank you for tuning in. hit me up on Facebook, Trash Talk MMA. Check out the website. It's going to be up and running real soon, TrashTalkMMA.com. And hit me up on Twitter at TrashTalkMMA. Look forward to hearing from you guys, and it's been a pleasure. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. Be sure to visit TrashTalkMMA.com. And don't forget to follow Antoine on Twitter at TrashTalkMMA. Let us know you're listening. Use #TrashTalkMMA.